let's assume that a plaintiff has filed a suit and has alleged and has at least some evidence of a duty of care, some conduct by me or whoever in the university that we breached that duty of care, and that it actually caused an injury, and that resulted in damages, fender bender on up. There are defenses, and these defenses vary from state to state. Excuse me. Interestingly, North Carolina is one of the states that still holds on to the old common law rule on assumption of risk. Now, assumption of risk is basically this: I know there's a dangerous condition, and I willingly and knowingly enter into whatever the activity is that exposes me to this danger. If I have assumed the risk, and sometimes you can actually have contracts that will specify that the person assumes the risk, and we'll talk about that later, then the person I'm suing shouldn't be held negligent because I have assumed the risk. I've taken it on myself. I did it voluntarily, knowingly. I wasn't coerced. That's one defense. So anybody who's sued for negligence almost always alleges that as one of their defenses. Another defense is called contributory negligence, and let's think of it this way. I may have been negligent in what I did. My conduct may have been negligent. I may have caused somebody injury. But if they were also negligent, then in North Carolina, I'm off the hook. That's called basically a full contributory negligence jurisdiction, and there are only a couple of states left. Most states now have laws that change that. It's called comparative negligence. And what happens is that the negligence of each party, the plaintiff and the defendant, are weighed. Evidence is brought in on the relative negligence of each of them, and the court has to determine what percentage of negligence each party contributed. Let's give you an example. Let's say I'm driving down King Street and I'm going 50 miles an hour on King Street. I'm texting somebody on my cell phone, and I go through, I have a green light, but I go through an intersection and I collide with a pedestrian. Now, clearly I've violated all kinds of standards of care. I'm not really looking where I'm going way too fast for the conditions, and yet the pedestrian I hit was crossing against a don't walk sign. So the pedestrian was also violating a statute, a law that basically tells that person what is unsafe and safe or unsafe conduct. And that person's contributory negligence in North Carolina will get me off the hook entirely. As I say, this is a minority jurisdiction. There are very few states other than North Carolina that still have this full contributory negligence defense. But in North Carolina, if you're involved in an accident and the other person is contributorily negligent, you're off the hook. Amazing as that sounds. Another defense is intervening cause. Let's say, there's give you an example. Let's say somebody runs a stop sign and runs into and hits a car that was just entering the jurisdiction, and that car then runs into a tree and comes to a halt. And when they pull the driver out of the vehicle, the driver's dead. Well, it sounds like the person who was driving the car that ran the stop sign and hit the victim's car doesn't really have much of a chance. But let's say there's an autopsy performed and it's found that the driver died of a heart attack, and that it can't be determined whether or not the heart attack had happened before the driver entered the intersection and was hit by my car or not. The jury nobody can determine with any kind of certainty that the cause of the injury, the cause of the death, was my car hitting the victim's car, or whether the cause of the death was a heart attack that happened just before the victim entered the intersection. So there can be intervening causes, and they can muddy the water in one sense, but they can also be a defense to a negligence verdict.